Hi, everyone. Welcome to the UFO Hub live stream. Today's guest is going to be Penny Kelly, back by popular demand. Usually, I on and off occasionally have people requesting for guests to be back, and I always try to oblige, but never really did I have it before to where I had messages and emails, Telegram, quite a few asking Penny to be back. So, of course, then I did my best, and so we tried to work out a time, and today worked out just fine. So, for those of you who are just now tuning in for the very first time to I guess if this is your very first time hearing about Penny Kelly, this kind of interview is actually going to be more of a question and answers. We did an interview a couple of weeks ago, and the link to that is in the description below. So I apologize if you didn't know that beforehand, but you can find out more about Penny and how things started for her and her books in the previous interview, where this one is going to be mainly Q&A. Also, what you can find in the description below is all the links and everything that Penny has to offer. You can sign up to her Patreon page, her websites, and I'm pretty sure she probably has some contact info there and some other information that you might find useful. So I always encourage everyone to check it out. So since we're going to go straight into question and answers, and this is kind of going to be a continuation of the previous interview, we're basically going to just go into Q&A as soon as possible. So if you're on chat, YouTube chat specifically, or Twitch, you can just put three little asterisks or three little stars, and then followed by your question that's going to pop out at me, which means that that question is for Penny, and I will ask that for you on the air. Or you can be logged into the UFO Hub Telegram, which is also in the description below. The voice chat is going on right now, and we have a few people just either listening, or they can tap the little button to raise their hand and ask a question of Penny themselves. So anyway, without any further ado, let me bring in Penny. Penny, welcome. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's good to be back with you. I enjoyed our talk last time.
I did as well, and apparently many people did too. So I'm really glad you were able to accommodate. And I'm not going to disclose much, but apparently we are very, very close to each other today, and we're both in Arkansas. So I'm going to leave it at that. So that was kind of interesting. But anyway, so Penny, I figured let's start with the first question, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, go.
Okay. All right. So Isa sent this in earlier. I usually can't take questions over Telegram, but it seemed like that it would have been very difficult for her to ask. So anyway, I will convey this to you. She says, "Hi Penny, I'm from Portugal, and even thought I never grew a thing in my life. I believe life is telling me I should. I am an unemployed woman teacher, mom, wife at the time, and it's being very hard to find a piece of land. Crazy prices. Do you see that in my path, or should I just wait for my turn to go back to teaching kids? I love teaching as well. I love what you are doing. Thanks."
Um, I love that kind of question. That's there is no time, no place that you cannot grow something. So I would say don't wait. Even though she hasn't grown anything previously, we don't really grow things. We put the seed in the ground and water it, and Mother Nature does the rest. And so if you don't have any land, back in the day back when Kundalini first started, I had a little tiny house with a little tiny yard, but I had this 4-foot wide garden or flower garden all around the house, around the base of the foundation. I went out, took out, it was mostly weeds at that point, took out all the weeds, turned over the soil, put on a little compost, which I got at the hardware store, and planted some seeds, and I went up. So I trellised everything. I got sticks, I got pieces of 2x4, 2x2s, 1x2s, stuck them in the ground, tied them together, nailed them together, whatever I had to do to provide space for the plants to grow up. And there were 4 of us living in that house. That little bitty 4-foot ring around the house was more food than we could eat. So, now I have a farm and I have lots of acreage. I could grow acres worth of stuff. But I also have a greenhouse. If you make a little tiny greenhouse or something that you can grow stuff in, even when it's pretty cold, that's an option. And there's also the container garden option, which if you're going to grow in a container, it can't be 6 inches deep. Roots of plants go deeper than that. So you have to get something that's at least 14 inches deep, and you put a little bit of pea gravel in the bottom or some gravel, and then you put soil over top of that, plant your seeds, water, and you're good. So, and maybe the first, 1 or 2 things you plant, you're going to end up watching and learning a lot, but that's worth it. You'll be surprised at what Mother Nature produces. The average rule of thumb is that for every dollar you spend, you're going to get 4 times that much out of that food. And if you have a bigger garden and you have access to, I think it's Kerr canning jars and Ball canning jars. I'm not sure what they might be in Europe, but maybe Kerr and Ball have, they supply glass jars. There's another name that I can't think of, which I've seen, but I've never used. Glass jars that can be used for canning. They often have on their website or in their offerings a guide that says if you plant this many feet of this food, you're going to get this much weight or these many bushels or these many pounds or something like that. And so you can look up in some of the booklets what you can expect to get. And you just keep planting. Takes 50 days on the average before you'll get much of anything. But that's well worth it. In the winter, you just cover it up. Sometimes just stick a light bulb. Be careful because the light bulb is way more heat than you might think, and it'll burn the plants that are close to it. But if you put a light bulb inside your little tent-like thing or your little tiny greenhouse, that's often enough to keep everything from freezing. And I live in Michigan. We grow pretty much almost all winter. So yeah, there's also, just try it. You'll learn a lot, and it's very rewarding. And you might be spoiled in terms of taste and flavor and nutrition because what you grow is going to be much more in alignment with your own energy systems than what you get in the grocery store, and much tastier, and it lasts much longer. So give it a try.
Okay, thank you for that, Penny. The next question is from Teresa, asking, Dear Penny, where can I purchase Nanosoma and C60? Thank you, blessings.
Okay, so there's a couple places that put out Nanosoma, C60. One place, these are 2 places that I can offer that are very reputable. One is Pure Bella Vita, PureBella I think. You might have to Google that. They have it. They have C60. There's also a company called Purple Power. And there's another one out there. I can't quite think of the name of the company, but I know that Patty Greer has been involved in that, and they work very hard. They are top quality as well. They might make C60 for other companies. So that's the C60. In terms of Nanosoma, if you Google Nanosoma and look for the name Richard Presser, Presser, and get on his mailing list. You can order a bottle, 3 bottles, 6 bottles, a dozen bottles. Nanosoma is it's starting to take off. It's starting to get hard to get because everybody wants it because it's really very good. So, and the doctor who developed the Nanosoma, I can't think of his name. I really didn't know his full name, but Richard Presser is the one who sends the emails out and does a lot of the marketing and keeps track of who's ordered what and who's doing what, and he's very good. So give it a try, okay?
Great, thank you for that. So I will be reading some questions out, even though you don't have the 3 asterisks, because I figured not most of you didn't know about that, because it just helps me a lot easier to see. But and thankfully the chat is not going super crazy, so I can actually figure out what's a question and what's just you guys chatting. So the next one is from Doug Coltrope. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the last name, asking, ask Penny when she thinks we will have full disclosure of ETs.
Wow, that's a tough question. So far, I have to say, I don't think we're going to have disclosure of ETs. Disclosure has been happening since the 1940s. The government has not wanted to say that they are working with ETs. Doesn't matter which group they're working with, the government is lying about their involvement. They're pretending, oh, we might have to admit that there's something in the sky. Well, if you have put any time and energy into research, or like myself, I have personal experience, that's enough disclosure for me. I don't rely on the government for anything anymore, especially not for disclosure. They don't want to say that they're working with the people that they're working with, or they didn't want to say that they were working with certain groups, because those certain groups were planning a takeover of this planet, and they wanted governments to continue to deny that they were working with us, because they wanted to stay in the background in case their takeover efforts went belly up, and they did go belly up. And so now we have a group of people who have said, we're going to take over. Those are mostly the corporations like Bill Gates and all the companies and NGOs that he works with. If you knew the rat's nest of corporate deals and agreements that are in place and that are pulling strings. The idea being that now that the ETs who are trying to take over have given up on that, what we're left with is the people that were doing the work for those ETs. They're looking at that saying, we're gonna be the ones in control. We're gonna be the top dog. I don't think that's gonna work. I don't think they have the intelligence to do that. I mean, the intelligence up here, they might have surveillance and all that kind of intelligence, but they don't have the smarts, and they don't have the long-term vision. And furthermore, they don't have the backup technology that was being used to run the planet. And so it's starting to break down now. They're pushing very hard to get everybody under their, how do I say this so that we don't get censored? So they're trying to get everybody to get the shot so that there can be control, there'll be less people. They're up, those people who have gotten certain things in their shots, those people are now unwittingly uploading tons of data to databases about what's going on with them. And that's going to help the people who made those awful shots to refine that to either work better or work worse. There's all kinds of stuff happening. We could probably go on for forever. But I think, to go back to the original question, we have to stand up and say to ourselves, well, duh, if a bee stings me, do I need the government to say, oh, you have a bee sting? If somebody drops a bomb on my house, do I need the government to say, oh, we dropped a bomb on your house? No, it's obvious. And when you have seen things in the sky and when you have heard the testimony, so many people have so much more interesting information than my little story, which is all personal. Then you put all that together and you realize, yeah, there's a lot of others here, OPs, other people from other planets. There's a lot of them here, several dozen, and from different places, and they are definitely, oops, okay, we just lost part of my light here. Hang on a second.
You're coming through great. You can just keep going.
Okay, let me just turn this way.
That
How's
works.
that?
They're trying to shut you down, Penny.
Okay, well, I think this little thing overheats, so I need another solution, and since I'm not in my regular office, I don't have many options right now.
You're great.
So, but we'll make do. So long story short, I think we have to take the authority upon ourselves to say, yep, there's people here. Yes, some of them are trying to help us. Some of them don't care about us. Some are scared to death of us, and some would like to control us, or there's a few who were trying to control us. Quite a few of those have given up and have left. There might be a few stragglers here and there, but don't depend on the government for anything anymore. They haven't been honorable. They haven't been honest. They haven't been upfront, and they have very good reason for doing so, because they were working hand in glove with those ETs to take over the planet. And their goal was, we want to be rewarded once we've done a good job of getting all these people under your control. Now, I think that's a mistake, because ETs very often get rid of the people who did the heavy-duty work because they know too much. But, such is the nature of what we're dealing with. So I hope that's a good enough answer.
Okay, thank you for that, Penny. So next question is from Sonia, asking, when will this collapse start, then end? Being cut off from society and money, things are going to get rough, but I know it's not even started to be rough in order for things to change.
Okay, so it depends on whether you're talking about the governmental collapse, or the financial collapse, or the collapse of education, or the collapse of the medical system, or the collapse emotionally of the population, or of law and order, or. So from my point of view, having known and seen all this 40 years ago, the collapse has been in process for, since I saw it back in the 1980s, but it has been especially pronounced since 2015, and it's supposed to culminate this year, by Thanksgiving of this year. And that collapse is, sometimes I look at it and I think it's not going to be as bad as we think. Other times I look at it and I think, oh, Mother of Mary, it's going to be awful. I think what I'm seeing when that kind of thing comes up is some places are not so bad. Some places are not so good. And so you have to be ready. You have to be ready emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. You should also be ready physically. And I think the biggest worry that I have is I see so many sick, really sick people, people that I'm not sure, people that need care, people that need nursing, in home or in hospital or wherever they can get it, on the street, whatever. and that's people who don't have the energy. They don't have the mindset that they used to have. They are, I don't know. We'll see. It all depends on us. It's what we choose to make happen. The people who have fallen for the idea that they're going to have freedom if they get the shot, they're going to end up angry because that's not going to be the case. So that may bring some of them into a place where they begin to be real. You have to be real. Spirituality is often talked about in terms of being realized. So what that means really and truly is that you begin to see what is, and you stop living under illusions and wishful thinking and hopium and all of this stuff that you have been told that you want to believe, and none of it is real. So the collapse, we're almost at the end of the collapse. It's not too bad for some. If the financial system and the government goes down, then we have to reorganize, and a lot of people are really going to be pretty excited about that. A lot of people, when I look ahead, don't really want the old system. They're so angry. They're pissed about the betrayal and about the games and of the lies and the suffering for no reason just because somebody wanted control. So that's where we're at. Just hang in there. Don't cave in. We're gonna, I think, see some really difficult times after October 14th. After September 30th to October 14th is the last grace period for the financial system. And then a lot of sick people as we move through the heavy part of the winter, December, January, February, March, April. And then we kind of like, it's like, you know, there's kind of a sigh of, okay, I made it. We made it through the winter, but a lot of stuff is going to be different, and we are not going to go back to anything that resembles what we used to have. So the idea that we can go back to that is, I think, foolish. There's a lot of talk about Trump coming back and Trump doing this and Trump doing that, and now there's some talk that's beginning to appear that says, no, that's not going to happen, and we don't know that we can trust him, and etc. And so it's like, oh, wow. Okay. So I see three scenarios for the future, and I think that those are up to us. So, you know, get your guts in a pile and let's march forward.
Okay, thank you for that, Penny. So the next question, I think it's okay. I'm gonna go with the assumption that you might know what this person is referring to. It says Geraldo's is asking, "Hi Penny, can you provide any look-see update tonight?"
Oh wow. I have one coming out on the 29th of the month, an early one. The only piece of that I can think of off the top of my head is something that I've been chewing on for the last few days. And it's a question, not so much a look-see. So, Adnan, you might not know that every month on the 15th of the month, I put out this little look-see. And it's...
okay, that explains it.
Okay, it's not predictions. It's just me looking and sensing what's going on out there. How are people feeling? What are they thinking? What's their attitude? And then, you know, I'll see some things happening. Some of them good, some of them bad, some of them indifferent, just news kind of things. But the piece that struck me that's going to be in this next look-see is a big concern of mine, which I think I mentioned. I don't know if it's up yet, but I mentioned somewhere, talking to somebody, that the question is, Well, let me back up a step. The statement or the expectation has been for quite a long time that we are going to see Trump come back, and that's going to force the awakening of a whole bunch of normies. And so there might be some turmoil, and they'll have to wake up. So I have consistently looked to try and see, is Trump coming back? No, I don't see that. Is Trump coming back? No, I don't see that. Um, so, so what the question becomes is, are we the normies? All of the 80 million people who voted for Trump, are those the normies because they're expecting Trump to come back? And if he doesn't come back, they're going to be severely disappointed, and they're the ones going to have to wake up. They're the ones going to have to say, "Oh man, what's going on here? What do we need to do?" And the disillusionment, the frustration, all of that is going to be right there, right in our face. And so that whole question is something to be thinking about. Who's really the normies? Is it all those people who voted for Biden, or is it all those people who voted for Trump?
Okay, thanks for clarifying
Tough
that.
thing. Yeah.
The next question is from Yo-Yo. Yo-Yo, you are unmuted on Telegram. Unmute yourself and please ask your question.
Hello, hi. I love your work. Okay, my question. So for the street healing and like self healing that I've been looking into myself for myself, like in this, because you said there's going to be a lot of sick people possibly, and then like, well, my family that get the shots, they're all sick right now, and God knows what, well, I mean, I know what, but that like, what are the kind of things we could focus on? Or like, I'm been getting into like, real nutrition and herbs, and is there anything that should be for the masses? Because some things are just not for the masses, like the vegan style and yeah.
Right. Okay.
thanks,
Yeah, we
Yo-Yo.
don't really know enough about nutrition to be messing with our diet by going vegan. The people don't know enough to really be healthy. Maybe there's a few. But yes, there are a couple things that I have suggested that people have on hand for getting healthy again. You really need to rebuild your system if you've gotten the shot. And you really need to detox yourself before you start trying to rebuild. So if you have gotten a shot where you have some kind of chemical in you or some kind of metal, be that graphene oxide or stainless steel or something else, then it's really a good idea to take zeolite. There's a couple places out there that I know of that offer zeolite. One is a place sells zeolite DHQ, and you can get that at a website called gethealthyagain.biz. Gethealthyagain.biz. The other place is you can get zeolite. It's called Touchstone Essentials. They have some very nice stuff for getting healthy again. So that's one thing. If you can't get a hold of any zeolite, montmorillonite clay or bentonite clay will also help detox, especially from the gastrointestinal tract. There's a couple of other more sophisticated procedures that you can do. You can go and get some chelation, but you got to find a clinic that does chelation and does a really good job. Chelation being DMPS chelation. The DMPS stands for this word that's 90 miles long, so it's just called DMPS. D as in dog, M as in mother, P as in puppy, and S as in Sam. And that chelation, it's more expensive, but in one 2-day period, you're cleaned out, pretty much cleaned out. So those are detox options. If you're trying to detox your liver a little bit, a coffee enema or a set of coffee enemas every day helps the liver collect stuff out of your system, and then the coffee actually doesn't clean out the colon. It forces the liver to dump toxic waste, and then it goes through the system and you dump it out the back door. So those are detox procedures. The rebuild is you have to have all the aminos, and your vitamins and minerals really don't work very well without aminos. So you have to have amino acids, the whole range of them. You have to have all the minerals, multiple minerals. There are 6 majors, and then trace, like 99 trace minerals. So you get some, you can get the major minerals in a capsule. You can get the trace minerals in a liquid, and you put that in a smoothie, maybe. And then your multiple vitamins. So it's aminos, minerals, and vitamins. And then you can take some powdered things. Touchstone Essentials has some wonderful powder called, it's a green powder. I think it's called The Good Inside. And there's another, Athletic Greens, also has been doing, and they might be in Australia, I'm not sure. Athletic Greens has another powder that they offer. It's Super Nutrition. And then if you get Source of Life Gold, that's a liquid. That has all the minerals and all the vitamins and all the aminos and a whole bunch of other stuff, cofactors. And then you don't eat sugar. You don't eat junk. You only eat real food, and you rebuild. And it takes a long time to rebuild. A long time. Okay, it took me a couple years, but by gosh, I felt a lot better after 6 months. So I started rebuilding when I had severe rheumatoid arthritis back in my 40s. So that was 30 years ago. And once you rebuild, you just keep on that program. It's a lifestyle change. Exercise, it makes you sweat. You will detox to some extent right through your skin. Your skin is your biggest detox organ. So very, very important to start some kind of a program. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Penny. So April K is asking, can you ask Penny if we will be getting the social credit score system in the U.S. and the digital vaccine passports?
The answer is no and no. I don't think so. They're going to try July, about next May, they may try to pull that off again. I don't think it's going to go. The system was destroyed this past summer that they were going to use to put that social credit score system in place, and they need a year, almost a year, to rebuild it. In terms of the passports, no, I don't see them being able. They're pushing all of that because they're trying to get us to cave in to their system. And the thing we have to do is just ignore them. That's not really easy to do for some people. But especially if I just read today, I forget how many nurses in Michigan have just said, bye, we're not getting the shot, period. I read somewhere earlier this week that 650 Navy SEALs had said, bye, we're not getting the shot. Pilots, we're not getting the shot. 2 Michigan hospitals have closed down portions of their hospital because they can't afford, they don't have enough nurses and doctors to run the hospital. So there's stuff happening all over the place. And of course, the goal on the part of the cabal is to rush all of this through. The big nut, if you will, that had to be cracked was the United States. If we go down, if we cave in, then it's over for us and the rest of the world. If it's something that we can stand up to and can get past October 14th, then we're on the home stretch. They're trying to get us to cave in and get us to do all kinds of things that give them the feeling that they're in power. And they're trying to hang on because they're out of money. And I actually have a piece that I'm going to be putting out on my Patreon channel that is, I think it's going to be 2 or maybe even 3 parts about the financial system, how it works, why it quit, and what the stakes are. So we're so close to winning. Hang on, people, hang on. So.
All right, thank you, Penny. So Michelle is asking, hi, Penny, during a water fast, would it be beneficial to take C60 or skip it during the fast?
No, to skip it. A water fast is used to put the body at rest. There should be no transactions going on in the body other than the very slow, gentle kind of detox that occurs during a water fast. C60 is something for rebuilding. So first do the water fast, and then you can do the C60 as part of the rebuild program. So if you're doing a water fast, plan to stay at home, plan to stay on the sofa or in the bed or in the chair and relax. Don't be like I did, which is you're out in the field, working in the vineyards, trying to get stuff done, driving this equipment, blah, 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 blah. That the water fast is used to slow the body down and let it do what it does so beautifully, which is get rid of what it doesn't want and rebuild slowly, or make the setup, get everything set up to begin the rebuild. So water fast, very, very powerful. It'll change your consciousness as well.
So I just want to take this quick opportunity. We're doing, excuse me, we're doing question and answers, as if you noticed, with Penny Kelly. And so you can ask a question by putting 3 little stars or 3 little asterisks before your question, so it pops out easier at me, and I appreciate some of you doing that. Or you can join the UFO Hub Telegram group to ask a question yourself via voice. And so, again, this is not the official interview. We already did one a couple of weeks ago. I encourage you to check it out after this one to learn more about Penny. And of course, in the description are all Penny's links regarding a Patreon, website, and everything else. So please do check it out. So Penny, the next question is from Golden Angel asking, hi Penny, did the rope say anything about the mark of the beast?
Yeah, they did. I was kind of shocked at what they said. I didn't like what they said, but it was that the mark of the beast was going to be eventually recognized as the financial system running from the computers in, I think it was Belgium, that had the identifier 666, and that was going to be the signal that was the mark of the beast. And at the time I thought, what? It's the financial system? It's a what? Well, in the 40 years since then, and paying attention to what's happening with the cabal, I've come around to realizing, okay, I think there's a lot to be said for the mark of the beast being exactly what we're dealing with right now. The mark of the beast is actually a number of marks, a number of rules, a number of control mechanisms, all run by the cabal. And that basically comes down to Bill Gates and his cronies. And they're working it pretty hard.
Great, thank you. Marissa is asking, can we get a look-see for South Europe? Penny, you're a star.
Okay. Okay, I'll tell you what. What part of Europe? Southeast or southwest?
She just said South Europe.
South Europe. I will definitely look at that area. I've been very interested in that area. And when I come out with the look-see on the 29th, I'll spend a little bit of time looking. I'm always interested in what's happening right across Spain, Lower France, Southern France, Italy, Greece, and especially over into what you could call Old Europe. There's quite a bit of renewal that I've seen. I'll just mention this briefly. That comes out of the area that was, I forget what it was called before it got balkanized, but I think it was a combination of Czechoslovakia, Herzegovina, Croatia, Bosnia, Macedonia, that area. There's Greece. They were the first ones to suffer under this program to get control of the world, and they will have rebuilt almost before anybody else. So that's a good thing. I'll take another look at that. Thanks for asking that. It's good little kick in the butt that says, hey, what's happening there? So
good deal. Thank you.
Okay.
Lost my spots for a second. Oh, there we go. Beth is saying, hi, Penny, do you still see many sick in the winter, and who would fall in that category? Thank you.
I did see a lot of people sick. There wasn't as much death as I was expecting. And that was kind of a surprise. There's more than what we're used to, but there wasn't, this mass die-off that I was afraid we were going to see at first. But when watching, everybody was sick. There was like one healthy person in every family, and it was the one who did not get the shot. And that one person was trying to take care of everybody else, the grandparents, the parents, the kids, the cousins, the neighbors, the blah, blah, blah. And the thing that ended up striking me, and this is going to sound terrible, was that, oh my God, we would have been better off if these people had died, because now everybody is sick, and the couple people who are not sick are just stretched to the max trying to take care of their peeps. And that it's just everybody is unable to take care of themselves, and we get through it. We do lose some, but there's a period there where we, as a population, as a planet, are very, very vulnerable, and that is just what the cabal is trying to. They're trying to set that up. Everybody's too sick to do anything except cave in. So, I've said to people, have a little nursing kit for every member of your family. Have some supplies, have some, techniques and some things that you know how to do. I've referred people to my own book, Getting Well Again, or Getting Well Naturally. It's a brown cover. That's the one that I just updated, because there's some techniques in there for taking care of people. A lot of getting well is nursing yourself or supporting somebody you love by nursing them. And that means feeding them when they need to be fed, and helping them if they need to take a bath or wash their hair or take their meds on time, their herbs on time, or whatever it is they're taking. So There's a lot of old-fashioned things that used to be done because people trusted the body to heal itself. If you just support the body in the right way, it'll heal.
Great, thank you. Melissa Weingart is saying, "Hi, Penny. How much longer do you see this so-called movie playing? I'm feeling really tired and frustrated. Thanks, Melissa."
Yeah. Wow. I don't have anything good to say there, Melissa. I'm sorry. What I see is that this is playing out in different stages for a couple years yet. So I too have a couple times just thought, okay, I need a break. And so I just go away from everything, tell my people I hit the wall. I need some time off. I need to go do what? Something. And then I read, or I soak in the tub, or I soak my feet, or I go to bed early and take a nap in the middle of the day, which I don't normally do. Usually I'm working a minimum of 12 hours a day, and often it's 16 or even 18 hours in a day. So get away, go do something silly, go do something fun. And then know that you're just taking a break so that you can come back refreshed. Back in World War I and World War II, soldiers had to be sent away for a week or two to sort of renew. It takes 2 or 3 days just to get into the relaxation. Okay, where you stop churning with all the stuff. And then you take 3 or 4 days where you don't even think about it. You just do things that you enjoy, you laugh, you call people you haven't had time to call, and then you head back knowing, okay, what's happening? What do I need to be ready for? Does it look any better? Does it look any worse? The stages that we have yet to go through are the rest of the destruction of the old system. The setup, I'm going to say some of the setup and some of the cleanup for the new system, and all the meetings and all of the exchange of ideas that have to happen in order to create a new system. And then actually doing the work of creating that, the communication that is required, the creativity, all of that is a lot of work. Right now, there's a lot of anxiety watching the old come down, but it's just as stressful to be creating something new because you don't know if it's going to work. You don't, it's like, okay, let's try this. People will have to come together, and we don't know how to work together. We only know competition. We don't know cooperation. So that's another little stage in there where we learn to work together and think together and take care of one another. Okay?
Okay, thank you for that. Danielle is saying, "Hi, Penny. You're a gift to the world. Thank you so much. How do you see Florida faring over the next few years? What about Miami? I'm looking to buy land out in rural Florida when my lease is up."
Okay. Florida actually does pretty well. In terms of finance, in terms of governance, in terms of sickness, all sorts of good changes come out of Florida. There are some indicators that we may have to counter some pretty big natural phenomena, but that's 7, 8, 9 years down the road, maybe as much as 20 years down the road. And so, the question would be, how long are you going to stay there? How long do you intend to live? And so on and so forth. So what I've said to people is, I'll share a little story here. This is a long time ago, back in the early part of the 2000s, we were building a barn. And we just had to put the shingles on. We had to shingle the roof. and it was December in Michigan. And every day it snowed and it was dangerous, and the guys didn't want to get up there on the roof because they were afraid they'd slide off. And this was up there. It wasn't an 8-foot drop to the ground, or even a 10-foot. So finally I went out and I said to my friends, the wind and the snow and the moisture, the water, which is snow, I said, look, you guys, we're trying to put a roof on. Could you just stop snowing, please? We just need a few days. And it was cold. Oh my God, it was frigid cold. And so the batteries on the guns, the nail guns, were not working and for very long. And so lots and lots of problems. So I ended up talking to these friends. I have developed these relationships with the elements, and they said, okay, if we see you out there, I said, we can't get out there too early in the morning because it's too cold and it's too much frost. So they said, if we see you out there by 10 o'clock in the morning, there will be no snow that day. And the sun will come out and melt the frost. Okay. So because of all the size of the roof and because of the how cold it was, it took longer. It took 10 days, I think it was, maybe even almost 2 weeks before we got all the shingles on. And finally, December 23rd, I remember the day, we finished the roof. And I went back outside and I said to my friends, okay, we're done. Thank you. We hadn't had a single drop of rain or snow, and the sun had come up each day and melted the frost on the roof just like they had promised, and we managed to get the thing done. And that was the 23rd, in the morning, noonish. Actually, it wasn't quite morning. And I think it was by 5 o'clock that afternoon, it started to snow. And it snowed for 2 days. And we were like, let it snow. So I share that story because I think if we understood that we're in a partnership with Mother Nature, and we're trying to work our way back into that partnership and into communication, and we're letting nature know this is what we need right now here in this place, in this location right now, that that all things become possible. So it's really important to follow your heart, to communicate with the land, with the rain, with the wind in that area, get to know those elements in that location. And then if you think that that's something that, you feel deeply about, let yourself be led, follow your nose kind of thing. And it will work out just great. So, okay.
Great, thank you. I'm not sure if I can even pronounce this username, Nanyox3. The question is, have seventh dimension beings reincarnated in this timeline as humans, or is it mainly lower density beings?
I can only talk about my own experience, okay? Seventh dimensional beings are usually not interested in what we're doing way down here. This is a tough place. This dimension is rough. People are undeveloped. Consciousness is wild, out of control most of the time. Seventh dimensional beings, you don't get to be seventh dimension unless you have done one heck of a lot of development. And once you have developed to that extent, you might get a fourth dimension or fifth dimension being who comes back to help. But seventh dimensional beings, if they're going to be involved here at all, are going to try to offer love or offer nurturing from where they're at. So that's my experience is that you can barely communicate with those beings. And the reason is because they're way past what we're going through. We will get there one of these days, one of these lifetimes, but the due diligence that has to happen first is what happens in the third dimension and the fourth, and even in the fifth. It's not all, what do you call it? Chocolate and roses or candy and flowers or whatever. In each one of those dimensions, you really don't get above that ever. Even sixth dimensional beings are very disciplined in what they will discuss with you because they don't want to get hooked into all of your fear and all of your crap and everybody's worry and their lack of discipline. They want us to develop ourselves, and that's a very critical step that we are in the process of trying to develop right now. So go for that. So important. Go for it.
Great, thank you. The next one is from C. Mulvena, saying, "Hi, Penny. Hope your back is healing well. A little question: do you remember the first conversations when you explained the ropes to your husband, friends, children? How were they?"
Okay. So first of all, I really didn't explain anything to any of them. Back then, I was struggling terribly with the whole Kundalini thing and the unlimited consciousness. Consciousness was no boundaries. So the few things that I did say were trying to drop hints about what I had seen with the robes. Well, the man that I was madly in love with at that time finally threw up his hands and said, "Look, I'm going to put a sign on your back that says the end is near if you don't shut up about all this stuff." And so I just backed way off. I tried to tell one of my daughters that I knew was a fairly evolved soul, that I was from elsewhere in the universe and I was here on an assignment. She freaked out. So it was like, okay, I can't talk to children at all. And my parents, no, they were good Catholic people. They were not really well educated. They were hard workers. They were poor. We were poor when I was growing up. And we did everything ourselves. We made everything that we needed. And so they were not interested in anything that I would call esoteric. In fact, I had never heard the word esoteric or metaphysics until I was in my middle 30s. It was after Kundalini. So there was no one to talk to. I did not tell my husband. So the way that it went, I broke up with the man that I was with when the robes were coming around. And if you read robes, you'll get a lot of that story of what I was going through personally. So then I was alone for a while. And then I met my second husband. And I never said anything to him. It was like, no, I had learned if people don't ask, I don't tell, period. That was a guaranteed way to lose friends and get ridicule from family members. So I just carried that all inside of me. And it was really not until the robes came around, I had mentioned to my husband, my second husband, after we married, well, I met these little guys in brown robes back in 79, 80, 81. And they showed me a lot of pictures of what was going to happen in the world. But he didn't ask, so I didn't tell. So when the robes came back and asked me to write down what they had showed me, and it took me forever to write that down. They came back in 92. It was 11 years, almost 11 years after I had last seen them. I started writing. When I was done with pretty much the entire book, then I shared it with my husband, and because he was totally an engineering square-shaped head, he was not into any of the stuff that I was doing. He liked it, but he didn't do any of that himself, and he had some difficulty believing that any of it was real. When I gave him the draft of the book, his only comment when he came back, when he got to the part about the main house, and he said to me, threw it on my desk, he says, "Why didn't you tell me we were building a main house?" And that had not even occurred to me until that moment. And then I had another crisis of, oh my God, these guys were. So it's a long story. I won't say anymore, but suffice it to say, for the most part, I just go about my business. I meet people where they are at, and I like people a lot. And so I enjoy them. They don't have to be something or think a certain way or do certain things for me to be comfortable with them. I'm just going to love them the way that they are.
Great, thank you. Yeah, this next question I can relate because we kind of did something very similar to where we had to sit down our oldest, which he's a teenager now, and talk to him. But let me get to the question. Jason's works is asking, how do we best teach children what the world is going through right now? I think it is important they know this is not the way it should be.
Oh, I think the best way to work with children is to say things like, first of all, they don't like a lot of detail. They don't really understand a lot of the concepts of what's going on, and they don't need that. What they need to hear is, well, we're moving into a new system. We're moving into, we're going to have an opportunity to create a world that is a little bit closer to what we want. What would you do? How would you do food? There's 12 sectors, major sectors that every society has. Governance, money, medicine, education, religion, business, there's all kinds of information that crosses over from each one of those sectors and affects all the others. So you can occasionally ask a child, what would you do if you were the farmer feeding the world? What would you do to heal people? What would you do if you were teaching? What would you teach? And so you begin to draw out from the child what they think, and you'll be surprised at how well they perceive what is going on and how creative they are. I mean, they might give you an answer that's fit for a 3-year-old if they're 3, or for a 7-year-old or 8 if they're 7 or 8. But a lot of times they shock you with their perception, or you can just say to them, well, what do you see happening? What do you think is going on? Don't try to tell them, because all you're going to do is end up passing on your biases. Instead, draw out from them by asking them what they see, what they think, how they feel, what they would do about that. What do they think if they say something stupid? Then you say, well, what do you think would happen if you did that? And lead them toward what works.
Okay, thank you for that. Next question is from Kevin. Is there an end game for the ETs? If so, what do you think the end game looks like? Thank you.
Yeah, there's really no end game, but there's what I'll call a state of a status that they would like us to achieve. Okay, so the end game, if I can bring it down, what's really a galaxy-wide challenge to something that's really very local on our planet, your planet either, let me say it this way, some ETs that are very aggressive have declared that certain sectors of the galaxy belong to them. And so if your planet happens to be in the sector that they have roped off as their territory, then you're in trouble. And so there's been an effort on the part of ETs who are very highly developed in terms of consciousness, very spiritual, very powerful in terms of their weaponry, and they do have weapons, very advanced in terms of their consciousness. All of that is something that they try to prevent because they know the more sectors or the more planets go down, the more we are at risk in our territory, our area. And so that there's this constant effort to for some of the more aggressive ones to take over planets. And some of that is for food reasons, some of that's for slave reasons, some of that is for power reasons, or for being able to exact like a tax. If somebody wants to land on our planet and refuel or get water or something, they have to be careful. They could be captured, and they may have to pay heavy tax to be able to land here. And so the aggressive ones gather more power. So the people that say, no, that's not how we want to do things, that's not how we want to live, then end up going to try to wake up the people on a given planet before it's too late, before the aggressive ones have gotten full control. Right now, we're at a moment in time where I think we'll say the ones who are trying to get us to wake up and step into our own power so that we will not be taken over, they are succeeding. They want us to see that we are succeeding. And it appears that the bad guys have said, okay, this isn't going to work. This takeover is not going to work. And so they've left, and they've left us with all the layers. What the bad guys do is they come in and they get a whole bunch of people on the planet to do their dirty work. If the ETs leave, then the bad guys doing the dirty work are the ones left, and we go after them, and rightly so, because it turns out they betray us. And so that's where we're at right now. I don't think it's well understood, may never be understood. It doesn't matter in many ways. It doesn't matter as long as we come out with having stepped into our own inner authority, having committed to higher consciousness, more expansive consciousness, having committed to development of the physical as well as the spiritual, so that we can be these amazing beings that are somewhat rare, that are physical as well as highly spiritual. Most people are one or the other. They're very advanced in terms of their technology, but they're not very advanced in terms of their consciousness and their spirituality. Or they're very advanced in terms of spirituality, and they give up the three-dimensional physicality. And so there's a loss of the beauty and the intensity of the physical realm. And what we are doing here on Earth is trying to develop the physical as well as the spiritual. And most people do not have enough science background to know what is possible when you increase the level of energy that you can hold. And that is true for a human being. That is true for a plant. That's true for a rock. That's true for a fish, or that's true for a piece of metal. As you increase that object's ability to hold itself together, even when holding extraordinary amounts of energy, then you get something, a plant, a metal, an animal, a human with extraordinary characteristics. Absolutely knock your socks off characteristics. And that's where we're headed. So I hope that all makes sense.
Great, thank you. Penny, how are you feeling? Would you be okay to go a little longer, or I just want to be respectful of your time?
Yeah, we can go a little bit longer. Do we? Yeah, we're another 15 minutes or so, maybe,
Okay,
unless
good
we
deal.
run out of
Yeah.
questions.
Oh no, it's loaded. So, I
Oh,
just you're the
okay.
boss. You tell me when,
All
and
right.
I'm all
Well,
ready,
maybe
and I'm
do it
sure
again
everyone else
another
watching
time.
are very appreciative of you doing this. So,
Okay.
all right. So, also, for those who are maybe just now tuning in, you can ask questions in the chat. Please make sure to include 3 asterisks before your question, and they'll pop out at me a lot easier. And also, if you're in Telegram or don't have Telegram, you can download it, install it, join the UFO Hub Telegram group. The link is in the description below, and you can actually ask a question of Penny yourself. So the next question, I think you answered this in some ways, but just out of respect, and I appreciate them submitting it, I'll ask it, and I'll leave it up to you all whether how you want to go about it. Jason
Okay.
is basically saying, "Thank you, Penny. Will the establishment succeed in the mass subjugation and persecution of those who will not take the shot when those who have when those sorry I'm have, oh when those who have begin getting horribly sick as a group?"
Um, uh, Read the first part of that question again, because that was the key part.
It says, "Will the establishment succeed in the mass subjugation and persecution of those who will not take the shot?"
Okay, stop right there. Only if we give our power over to them. Only if we do that. There's a few thousand of them. There's what, 7 billion, 8 billion of us. What you see happening is people ignoring. Yes, there's some people that will maybe go to jail. There's some people that may end up having a hassle. Those are going to be our models, if I can say it that way. So if we give in, it's over. It's game over for us, and they won. I don't see that happening. I just don't. People are fed up, and even the people in Australia, where the measures to get control of the people are draconian. They're not. I was kind of chuckling at they've coined a term down there. They're going not walkabout, which is a term used by the Aborigines. They go on a walkabout around the desert, I guess, but the Australians are going on a walk around. In other words, they're going to walk around. They're not going to stay in their houses. They're going to the beach. They're not going to wear their masks. They're going to do life normally. And I was like, oh, wow, good for them. So the power to not do, I think I mentioned that last time. Maybe not. I'll just mention it again. We have the power to do something, and we have the power to not do something. And the little man in brown robes said it would all come down to not doing. It would come down to not doing anything that they needed us to do, that the cabal needed us to do.
I think you did
And
mention
what
it
that
last time.
amounted to was not going to work, not spending any money, not traveling anywhere, not doing anything we were told. They said, everybody get ready and then sit down. Sit down and stay in your houses and don't do anything. And very quickly there would be the realization that by the cabal that, okay, well, if we go invade in some house, we're going to look bad. We can't really do that. And so they don't know what to do. They're expecting us to rebel so they can pounce on us. If we just all not doing that, not going there, not doing anything they expect us to do, then number one, it takes a huge chunk of cash. The Robes said it will only take 3 days, and the rest of their financial power would just collapse. And it would only take 3 days for us to discover how much power we have. And so I leave that with you guys. Think about not doing.
Great, thank you. The next one is from Jane, asking, how will the new medical field manifest, i.e. vibrational medicine and natural plant medicines?
Okay. Yeah. Oh man. The medical system is really in for a huge makeover. I think it'll be 6 of one, half dozen of another, meaning the old technology, which is drugs and surgeries and stuff like that for a while. But the new system that I saw when I was in the future was all done on the internet. You went up to this gadget, this little thing that you turned on a light, and you picked your finger and you rubbed some blood on a slide, and you put that slide underneath that light, and it analyzed your entire system and then fed back to you. This is what's going on with you. This is what you need. This is where to get it. And that just all came as a printout. And so the diagnosis, the prescriptions, if you will, and the the thing that you needed to know in order to understand and heal was done in like 15, 20 minutes. It was amazing. I think there are pieces of equipment that are out there. I have one. BCX is one form of frequency generator. You erase certain frequencies from the body. You erase the bacteria. You erase the coronavirus. You erase the parasite. You erase the whatever it is you need to erase. That I think gets much more sophisticated. And the thing I saw in the future was, I never really heard the name of it, but it was this machine that you kind of got in between these two plates, and it not only erased everything bad from your system, it restored everything that you needed. And so people lived a very long time, because they were constantly being restored. So, and that came as a result of the fact that we were trying to keep the population on the planet from collapsing. We lost quite a few people. So, the medical system, then there's old-fashioned herbs, wonderful, absolutely fabulous. A lot of people incorporate, I'm going to say, probably 3 dozen herbs minimum into their diet in the future. Some to drink, some added into salads, some added into foods, some added to flavor foods, some to preserve foods, some as medicine. I mean, the whole field of herbs, sort of mushrooms, I guess, or balloons up. So that's what I've seen.
Great, thank you. This next one is more of just a statement from Anya P. saying, I love you, Penny. I have watched your videos about 18 months every day.
Okay. Oh, my. Okay, well, thank you, Anya. Appreciate it.
Lena is, again, I think you've answered this in one way or another, but the question is, will there be truth anytime soon? From Lena.
Okay, so I'm going to assume that what Lena's asking is truth about who's honest and who's not, who's doing something good and who's trying to cover up something bad. The honesty about the financial system and how that has been used to enslave us, things like that. So the bottom line is no, I haven't seen that. What ends up happening is that people look at what's happening, they assess for themselves that something is, this is what they think is actually going on. And because of the diversity of perception that we have on the planet, which we need in order to have this kind of diverse reality system, we need that diversity. People come to their own perspective of not only what happened, but why it happened, and who made it happen, and who fixed it or tried to rescue it or tried to change it. And so different places have different, how do I say it? They have different applications of truth. And that's as it should be. The only real truth is source. The only real truth is that everything is source. We're made of source, and we are the power behind what's happening in this reality system. If we do not wake up and take responsibility for that, then we're never going to get to the truth at all. So the fact of the matter is, everybody's going to believe what they want. What I see is a lot of people end up coming to pretty much similar conclusions. Okay, but it's not 100%.
Thank you. Fab22, you are unmuted. Unmute yourself and please go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please
Yes,
go
I
ahead.
can.
Oh, most excellent. Thank you for the show tonight. It's really, really awesome. Two small questions, please. The first one would be, what would be your advice on people suffering complex post-traumatic depression disorder regarding to repeated visitation by other beings?
Yeah.
Being the first one. Now, the other one is more of a joke one. How come your clock is stuck at 4 to 4?
Because this is my first day back here in the southern part of the U.S., and all the clocks are off. So,
All right. So
yeah.
no spiritual connections here.
Okay. All right. I'll fix the clock as soon as we're done.
All right.
In terms,
It's not a problem for me. It's not a problem for me. Mine has been stuck for 1 year now. So.
Okay. Okay.
All right, thank you, Fab.
Yeah, I'm in a pretty bare office. I'm not in my usual place. And I'm loving the weather down here. Ooh, it's very nice. So to answer your question about the people who get caught in depression and post-traumatic stress because they're being picked up by other beings, that there has to be, and this is the only thing that I know of that has ever been effective, that you have to be able to allow them to take you, and then you have to come to your full awareness and full power without freaking out and without getting out of control. And you have to look at them right in the eye and communicate verbally and mind to mind, both at the same time. And this is hard to do, to say and see what you want at the same time, and to say, I want you to stop this. Take me back immediately. You do not have permission to do this anymore. And 99 times out of 100, that is enough. When you are too aware and too awake and too willing to confront them on their territory, in their situation, mind to mind and verbally as well, without all the freaking out and the struggle that usually happens, then without caving, without feeling poor me, then they will stop. So, and then once they stop, you really probably are going to discover that one of the reasons why you're being picked up is that your whole family has been involved, number one. but that you are not healthy. You don't have the energy field that would allow them or that would keep them from taking off with you. We're lazy. We are lazy people. We don't want to pay attention. That's how we got into this mess with the government and with the medical system. We just want to go about doing our thing, and life is good, and it's not bothering me, so I don't have to do anything. Well, that doesn't work. So there's a couple things that you can take to relieve depression. One is a combination of iodine plus ATP cofactors, adenosine triphosphate cofactors, which is a heavy-duty combination of the B vitamins plus iodine, raises your energy. And the other is SAM-E, which is a supplement, SAM-E, stands for S-adenosyl L-methionine E, and that also gets you past depression, gets you off Wellbutrin, and all of those things that the system gives you. So just make sure that you're taking B6 with the SAM-E, and voila, it's amazing. And that's been shown to do more than just relieve depression. It also helps fix things like arthritis. Oh gosh, not a whole lot with schizophrenia, but it helps with schizophrenia. And also, what is chronic fatigue? Things like that. So very, very helpful. You have to work mentally and physically. Physically is the supplement part. Don't eat any sugar or that kind of stuff. And spiritually is get a spirit of, by God, I'm in control of my own life. Leave me alone. And then emotionally, you keep your emotions under your own discipline. And that's it.
Well, great. Thank you, Penny. So, Penny, what about two more questions and let that be it then?
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, one, I think you already talked about this. We can skip if you like, or just make a short note on your own. This one is from Holly. It just says, hi, Penny. You mentioned in the last video that Australia has a battle to get through all of this. Will it be okay? And when will we have a reprieve? Thank you.
I don't know when for sure. It could be as much as another year. It could be as little as 3 or 4 more months. There's a lot riding on the next 3 months, a lot. If we don't stand up, if we don't sit down, if we don't speak up, if we don't, shut up, whatever it is we're going to do, we're going to have to do it together. And I don't see much happening along those lines. But I'm hoping that there'll be a spark somewhere along the line. Somebody will inspire everybody to move in a particular direction. In terms of Australia, the big struggle there is going to be with, I hate to say, with China and the betrayal by the Australian government. And some of that is starting to show up a little bit now in the ethers. And so I don't know how that's all going to pan out. But I'm going to say, if it takes a year, don't give up. Okay?
Thank you. And so the last question is from Nick. Is China's population really decreasing? I ask because I made my own survey while living there from 2013 to 2018. And those who were born after the one-child policy law had several siblings.
Yeah, the population has gone down a little bit. And that's why China has recently updated their one-child policy. First, they updated it to 2, and now it's up to 3 because they are having such difficulty keeping their population up, getting support from the population that exists. And I just don't see China. Let me put it this way. I think China does fine. I don't think the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, survives. And I know that Xi is doing his damnedest to get full control and to implement all kinds of controls. What I see is he's going to push it over the edge, and then he's going to go right with it. So,
Well,
for
great.
whatever that's worth. Yeah.
Penny, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Well, so I want to thank you very much, and I'm sure everyone else appreciates that you took the time to answer that question, especially during these times, when everyone needs some hopeful answers or at least some information. So again, I don't want to push it. Please know that you're always welcome, to come on anytime you like, and I'm sure everyone else appreciates it as well.
Okay.
So I'm just going to say it one last time. All the exact spelling and all the links are in the description below. But Penny, I'll let you finish off with your exact links and whatever else you would like to promote before we sign off then.
Well, I think everything is there. I didn't really look to see where was it spelled correctly or where it was everything there, but you can go to Odyssey. My videos are on Odyssey. You can go to BitChute. They're on BitChute. You can go to Patreon. They're on Patreon. And thank you for anybody who does offer any kind of support on Patreon. There's 4 different audio things that I'm part of. Apple, I think, Google, Spotify, Stitcher. So any of those, you can hear some of the things that we put up. I think I would just like to close with one reminder or one statement. And that is that, I spend a lot of time looking, reading, watching, listening. There's a ton of amazing information out there. It's coming from everywhere. It's good information. Even the information that's not so good is still helpful because it gets us to compare and contrast and to say, well, then no, so-and-so said this, but so-and-so said that. We need to do that kind of thinking. There's a lot of information out there. And I think we need that information, but I don't see a whole lot of action. And information is no good without action. And no action has to be deliberately chosen as the action path. In the same way that some sort of kinetic action has to be chosen as the path that we're taking. So be thinking about, what action am I taking? What action am I going to take? And I would say, if it was me, this is how I do it. I decide I'm going to try this decision on for size. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. And I write it down and I put the date on it. And I live with that decision for 2 days. Well, if that's it, then I would have to do this. Well, then I'd have to do that. Well, then that would mean such and such. And and you end up running into all of the parameters that you would have to deal with if you made that decision. So then I erase that decision and I make a different one. Maybe just the exact opposite. Okay, the date, this date, as of this date, I'm going to do this instead. And I live with that for 2 or 3 days and try to go through in my consciousness everything that would mean for me and for our world and for the people I love. And then maybe I'll try on a 3rd decision or a 4th or a 5th and I keep going until I can't think of any other decisions or ways of deciding what I'm going to do. And then I put them all aside, and then the one that is most appropriate comes up and has my heart, and I can't quit thinking about it. And that's the one that I choose. So be thinking about what you need to be doing. Lots of good information out there. What is the action? Okay? So I'll let you go with that.
Well, Penny, thank you for that. And everyone else, thank you as well. Sorry if we
Yes.
haven't gotten to get some of your questions, but there would have been a lot, and I think we'll be here for another 4 hours. But I do appreciate you tuning in. And so, Penny, thank you. Everyone else, thank you. And you guys have a good night.